We've told you about Soleiman Faqiri before on Information Morning when local prisoners' rights advocates took up his case. He had schizophrenia. A little more than 2 years ago, he died in an Ontario jail after he'd been put in solitary confinement. An eyewitness said a half-dozen guards were responsible for his death, but after a year of investigation, the local police force said there were no grounds to lay charges. In January, his family filed a lawsuit against the province of Ontario, its correctional services, and the individual guards. His brother, Yusuf Faqiri, is in Halifax to give a talk tonight. It's part of a national tour, and he joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Why was your younger brother in jail?
So on December 4th, there was an incident that happened with neighbors, and it was shortly after that incident he was taken temporarily into custody. My family was not there that day when this incident took place.
And did you see him again?
No. It was as if he was thrown in a dark hole to never be seen again.
Yeah. So how did he end up in solitary confinement?
I honestly would love to tell you that answer. I don't know. And that's the problem in itself the last 2 years, is that there has been virtually no transparency that my family has been given. Here is a mentally ill man, a Canadian mentally ill man, who was killed under government care, and his family continues to fight for answers more than 2 years. And that's absolutely unacceptable.
He was in jail 11 days.
Yes.
A total of 11 days.
Yeah.
And you know anything about that time?
No, we tried to visit Soleiman 4 times. The jail that he was there, it's about 45 minutes from our hometown. My parents tried to see him 3 times, myself and my younger brother once, and every single time we were not allowed to see him. And the jail was aware of his mental illness because I myself, with my younger brother, articulated to staff that Soleiman was suffering from schizophrenia, in addition to the fact that his illness was well documented.
Was he being treated at that time for schizophrenia?
I don't know. Yeah. That in itself is a problem, is that why is it so difficult to get information out? Why is it so difficult that my family is asking the same question since December 15, 2016 and today, is that what happened to Soleiman and why was he killed under government care?
What do you know about the day he died?
It was violent. It was inhumane. It was horrific. What I do know is that both his legs and his hands were tied at the time of his death. He was pepper sprayed twice. He was in segregation the whole time. He had a spit hood. And multiple guards viciously beat him to death. That's what I do know.
So this is information that came from the coroner's report?
What came from the coroner's report is that there was 50 bruises on Soleiman's body. Blunt impact trauma. His legs being tied. His hands being tied. The spit hood. The pepper spray.
Yeah. But there was a witness.
Yes. And this is a very important part here, is that the gentleman who was across the cell from Soleiman saw everything. And what's remarkable and absolutely astonishing is how the local police closed the investigation without speaking to the eyewitness.
How do we know that this eyewitness saw things? How did you learn that?
Mr. Thibault was interviewed by the CBC, and our understanding is that in that incident that he saw everything, one of his comments was that Soleiman was viciously beaten to death. That's what he quoted.
Mm-hmm. So why did the police say there are no grounds to lay charges?
We were never given that answer. We're never given that answer as to why charges were not pressed. I mean, this was a man, at bare minimum, assaulted. He lost his life. He was alive before this incident, and he's dead after. He left us as a healthy man. He was given to my family in a body bag. And the tragedy out of all this that's important as well, a couple of days before his death, he was ordered by an Ontario judge to be transferred to a mental health facility.
And that order was ignored?
That order was effectively ignored. He was waiting for a bed. He was waiting for a bed. And that's why he wasn't transferred.
Mm-hmm. This must be incredibly frustrating and a very bitter experience for you.
My family When we lost Soleiman, a part of us was lost. It's never come back. We haven't had our closure. But I tell you this, is that my pain does not compare to the pain of my mother and my father. We've been wronged twice. One, the horrible killing of my late brother, a Canadian man, and secondly, the way this family has been treated.
Mm-hmm. Where does this go from here?
It goes from here since day one, is that we're going to fight for accountability and for transparency. And this is why we're speaking tonight, and we've done this national tour, because we don't want another Ashley Smith. We don't want another Soleiman Faqiri. We don't want another Matthew Hines. The list of families who have lost their loved ones that have suffered from mental illness is long. But we want to make sure that Soleiman's death is the last death that someone who's suffering from mental illness dies under custody, temporary custody.
The Ontario Coroner has ordered the OPP to reopen this investigation. Are you hopeful about that?
Yes, we are. We're very thankful to the Ontario Coroner, and I believe the OPP opening a new investigation, it's an important start towards accountability and justice. And at the end of the day, Soleiman deserved better. He was a man with hopes and dreams. He was an uncle. He spoke 3 languages. He had an incredible relationship with every single one of us that we will not get back, and we miss that incredibly.
And I understand that he was an excellent student until he had an accident.
Yes, he played. He was actually on his rugby and football team. He actually was studying engineering at the University of Waterloo's engineering program, which is one of the most competitive engineering programs in the country. He was talented, and even after his illness, he actually ended up picking a 3rd language, which spoke volumes to his intellect. He spoke English and Farsi and Arabic.
And now your life has become largely about getting answers for him and for your family.
It's getting answers for him and for my family, but for Canadians at large. I don't want another mother to cry all night. I don't want another father to go through the agony that we're going through, because I don't want another family to go what we're going through in that way that we lost our loved one who suffered from mental illness. This story is more than just Soleiman. It's a much bigger systematic issue. It took my family 11 years to keep Soleiman alive. It took the justice system 11 days for him to lose his life. What does that say to all of us as Canadians?
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for coming in to talk about this.
Thank you very much.
Soleiman Faqiri will speak tonight at 7 o'clock, and that's at Dalhousie Schulich School of Law.